What if an entire village vanished overnight, and history never discovered where its people went? Not a single family. Not a few missing travelers lost in the desert. More than 1,500 people from 84 connected villages disappeared from Rajasthan nearly 200 years ago, leaving behind homes, temples, streets, and unanswered questions that still haunt India to this day. No evidence clearly explained the disappearance. And perhaps the strangest part of all, not one person ever returned to reclaim what they left behind. Deep in the deserts near Jaisalmer stands the abandoned village of Kuldhara, one of India's most chilling unexplained mysteries. During the daytime, it looks like the ruins of a forgotten civilization, slowly being swallowed by sand and time. But after sunset, the atmosphere changes completely. The empty streets become silent in a way that feels unnatural. Wind passes through broken stone homes like whispers from another century. Tourists visit out of curiosity, paranormal investigators arrive searching for answers, and locals still avoid spending nights there whenever possible. Because, according to legend, Kuldhara was cursed the night its people vanished. The story of Kuldhara begins centuries before it became known as a ghost village. Historians believe the settlement was founded around the 13th century by the Paliwal Brahmins. In one of the harshest environments imaginable, these people built thriving settlements capable of surviving where most others could not. They transformed dry desert land into fertile agricultural communities. Kuldhara was not an isolated village, struggling to survive alone in the desert. It became part of a larger network of 84 prosperous villages connected through trade, culture, and shared leadership. The Paliwal Brahmins were considered disciplined, educated, and economically successful. Their homes were carefully constructed. Their streets were organized. Temples and public spaces reflected stability and long-term planning. For generations, life in Kuldhara remained peaceful. But nearly every great mystery begins with fear entering the story. According to local legends passed down through generations, the turning point came when a powerful minister named Salim Singh developed an obsession with a young woman from the village. Some stories describe her as the daughter of the village chief. Others simply say she was known for extraordinary beauty. Salim Singh allegedly demanded that the girl be handed over to him. And when the villagers resisted, he threatened them with unbearable taxes, violence, and destruction. Imagine the atmosphere inside the village after such a threat spread among the people. Families trapped beneath the authority of a powerful ruler, with no realistic way to fight back. The villagers understood that resisting openly could destroy their entire community. Yet surrendering one of their own would destroy something even deeper: their dignity, unity, and sense of honor. Then, according to legend, the leaders of all 84 villages secretly gathered together one night and made a decision so extreme that it would transform Kuldhara into one of India's greatest unsolved disappearances. Rather than submit to oppression or sacrifice one innocent girl, they chose to abandon everything they had built over generations. Their homes, their farmland, their businesses, their temples, their entire way of life. They decided to disappear. The legend claims that in a single night, thousands of people quietly prepared to leave the region forever. Families gathered essential belongings under darkness while avoiding attention. Cooking utensils, valuables, clothing, tools, and supplies were packed in silence. Some stories even claim unfinished meals remained inside homes after the villagers vanished. Doors were left open, streets emptied before sunrise, and by morning, Kuldhara had become completely abandoned. More than 1,500 people were gone. No battle had taken place. No mass graves were discovered. No official historical records clearly explained where the villagers relocated. It was as if the desert itself had swallowed an entire civilization during a single night and erased their trail completely. Even nearly 200 years later, historians still debate what truly happened there, because the evidence remains incomplete and surrounded by contradiction. Think about how difficult such a migration would have been during the early 1800s. Thousands of people, including children and elderly villagers, traveling secretly through dangerous desert terrain while carrying supplies and livestock. Bonja Tinsheli would have been incredibly difficult to organize without leaving clear traces behind. Large migrations normally create records somewhere. New settlements emerge. Cultural evidence spreads into nearby regions. Historical documentation survives through trade routes and regional politics. Yet in the case of Kuldhara, the trail fades into uncertainty. That uncertainty is exactly why the mystery continues to fascinate historians, travelers, and paranormal investigators to this day. Some researchers believe the dramatic story of an overnight disappearance may have become exaggerated over generations. They argue that the villages were probably abandoned gradually because of economic decline, water shortages, environmental changes, or political pressure rather than a single dramatic event. And honestly, those explanations make sense. the Rajasthan desert has always been an unforgiving place to survive. Water scarcity, changing trade routes, drought conditions, and increasing taxation could easily force communities to relocate over time. Many ancient settlements throughout history were abandoned because survival simply became impossible. According to some historians, the Paliwal Brahmins may have slowly migrated elsewhere in search of better opportunities, while later generations transformed the event into legend. But there is still one major problem with that theory. If thousands of people relocated together, where did they go? Why are there no strong records clearly documenting the movement of such a large and organized community? Why does the story survive so powerfully, even centuries later? And why did Kuldhara itself become permanently abandoned instead of eventually being resettled like many other deserted villages throughout history? Those unanswered questions allowed something darker to grow around the ruins. Over time, local stories claim that before leaving, the villagers placed a curse upon Kuldhara, declaring that nobody would ever successfully settle there again. According to the legend, anyone attempting to live within the abandoned village afterward would experience strange disturbances, fear, or unexplained events that eventually forced them to leave. Whether the curse is real or not, the reputation of Kuldhara changed forever. Today, visitors often describe the village as deeply unsettling even during daylight hours. The ruins are beautiful in a haunting way, but there is also an overwhelming sense of emptiness that feels difficult to explain. Broken sandstone homes stand silently beneath the desert sun. Narrow streets lead nowhere. Temples sit abandoned as though time itself suddenly stopped. It feels less like an archaeological site and more like a place waiting for something that never returned. After sunset, the atmosphere reportedly becomes even more disturbing. Locals living near the area frequently avoid remaining there overnight. Tourists who visit after dark sometimes describe hearing whispers, footsteps, or distant voices, despite the village being empty. Paranormal investigators have visited the ruins, hoping to capture evidence of supernatural activity. Some claim to experience equipment malfunctions, sudden fear, or unexplained sensations while exploring the abandoned streets at night. Skeptics argue that these experiences are psychological rather than paranormal, and scientifically speaking, that explanation is entirely possible. Human beings naturally become hyper-aware inside abandoned places associated with tragedy, fear, and mystery. Silence feels unnatural. Shadows appear threatening. Ordinary sounds become disturbing because the brain expects danger. In isolated environments like deserts, even wind moving through broken structures can create eerie sounds that the imagination transforms into something terrifying. But even if every ghost story connected to Kuldhara is false, the historical mystery itself remains deeply unsettling. Because somewhere beneath the sands of Rajasthan lies the truth about thousands of people who walked away from their lives and seemingly vanished from history forever. Imagine standing inside Kuldhara during that final night. Moonlight stretching across silent streets. Families gathering belongings without speaking loudly. Parents trying to remain calm, while children ask frightened questions they cannot answer. Elders taking one last look at homes built by generations before them. The entire village preparing to abandon everything familiar before sunrise arrives. No chaos. No screaming. Only fear and silence. Then slowly, one by one, endless lines of villagers begin walking into the darkness beyond the desert horizon. Thousands of shadows disappearing together beneath the night sky, while the village behind them falls silent forever. By morning, only empty houses remain beneath the rising sun. That image alone is powerful enough to haunt the imagination. Perhaps that is why Kuldhara's story survived for nearly 2 centuries, while so many other historical events faded away, because it touches a very deep human fear, the fear of sudden disappearance. Human beings are naturally terrified by mysteries without closure. We want answers. We want explanations. But some stories refuse to provide either. Kuldhara is one of those stories. The ruins standing there today are reminders of how fragile even successful civilizations can become. At one point, these streets were full of ordinary life. Children played between homes. Families shared meals. Merchants traded goods. Farmers worked the land using techniques far ahead of their time. People laughed, prayed, celebrated, and dreamed about the future inside buildings that are now slowly collapsing into dust. Then something changed so completely that the entire settlement became abandoned and transformed into legend. That transformation feels disturbing because it reminds us of something uncomfortable about human history itself. Entire cities vanish. Civilizations collapse. Communities disappear until only ruins remain behind. Time eventually erases even the strongest societies. Kuldhara forces visitors to confront that reality directly while walking through streets where thousands of lives once existed. Today, the abandoned village attracts travelers from across India and around the world. Some arrive hoping to experience paranormal activity. Others come because they are fascinated by unexplained mysteries and unsolved disappearances. Historians continue researching the region, while archaeologists study the architecture and historical evidence, searching for clearer answers. But despite decades of investigation, the mystery remains incomplete. No explanation fully answers every question. No theory completely solves the story. And perhaps that uncertainty is exactly why Kuldhara continues haunting people generation after generation. Because the human mind never stops searching for answers to impossible mysteries. Was the village truly cursed? Did thousands really disappear in a single night? Were the villagers fleeing oppression, environmental collapse, or something history has completely forgotten? And why did nobody ever return to reclaim the homes they left behind? Those questions still echo through the abandoned streets even now. As sunset spreads across the Rajasthan desert, long shadows stretch through the ruins of Kuldhara, while silence slowly takes over the village once again. The empty homes glow beneath fading orange light. Wind moves softly through broken walls that once protected families generations ago. And for a brief moment it becomes easy to imagine the final hours before the village disappeared forever. Maybe the real truth behind Kuldhara has been buried beneath centuries of sand and legend. Maybe history lost the answers long ago. Or maybe some mysteries survive precisely because they are never meant to be solved completely. The more people investigate Kuldhara, the more the line between historical fact and haunting folklore seems to disappear. But one thing remains undeniable. Nearly 200 years later, Kuldhara still stands as one of India's most chilling unexplained mysteries. A silent village, where thousands vanished, where stories of curses and ghosts continue to survive, and where the absence of answers feels more terrifying than any horror story ever could. And perhaps the most disturbing thought of all is this. Somewhere beneath the endless deserts of Rajasthan, the real story of Kuldhara still exists. But the desert is keeping its secrets.